Yo, 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 yo. Live. Um, cool, cool. Cool stuff indeed. Okay, so what is up? What's going on here? I'm pretty tired. I just woke up from a midday nap. Naps have the tendency to make me a little bit grumpy usually. I don't like to take naps. Ideally, I'll get all of my sleep in the nighttime, but occasionally that's not possible because you either stay out late and okay, so I'm gonna also rant a little moment for a second here, where it's like I made tentative plans with somebody and they just didn't get back to me, and I didn't know if it was going to be a morning thing or an evening thing because they just didn't get back to me. So I just kind of fell asleep anxious, and I didn't know if I should wake up really early because I would feel really bad about not being um there or in time, I guess, or whatever, or kind of just like being attentive. But then this person, you know, I don't know, just didn't, I guess, afford me the same level of maybe respect. But at the same time, it's like nobody really owes anyone anything on, but I feel like if you're going to make plans or if you're going to set something up with another person, just being straightforward about kind of what your schedule is and following through is just general decency. Maybe that's just like weird in an era though where everybody is texting and people aren't really talking to each other directly anymore, and I'm guilty of doing the same. I think occasionally, especially when a person's schedule is overloaded with a lot of different options, it can be really hard to keep everyone in mind and say yes or no or whatever. So I've struggled with this as well, but you know, I don't know. It seems like that is a potential growth spurt for people, is like being able to understand why you're saying no and how to say no in a way that doesn't hurt other people's feelings or isn't like intentionally mean. And sometimes it's better to say no than guess to leave people hanging. Uh, Obviously, things come up and people have to break commitments and things like that. But you know, it's an interesting kind of quandary. The whole idea of how to be social, especially in now in my late 20s, I find that being social is much more taxing than it was at in my early 20s. And I think it's more taxing because I'm around people less. So when I do see people, I feel like either I need to get more done or I feel the need to, I guess, get a lot in the moments that I see people in my life now. Because people in their late 20s, they're busy. People are running around, they're doing things. People have work. They take on projects and goals, and being able to, I guess, show up for other people is a skill that you have to like use it or lose it type situation. And I knew flaky people back in college too. It wasn't just because you saw people every day, but the state was really constrained where people would just show up to things when they were told to show up to things because it's like where else could they be hiding on campus? Like I know where you are type situation. And I think in the real world that muscle begins to weaken. And I had this conversation, interestingly enough, at a bar with a few 22 and 23-year-olds. They had just graduated from college and they were talking to me and my friend who've been out of college now for like 7 years, and we were discussing the ins and outs of kind of socialization in the adult world and what happens to people's social lives, and if people narrow their social space into leaning heavily into a few people, or if they continue to broaden their social sphere through their careers. And I would say by and large everyone has a different experience, but there are commonalities between people in their 20s in particular. There's a lot of people who will feel compelled to stay as social as they were when they were in their early 20s, but don't have the energy to keep up anymore. Because it also, actually, weirdly enough, I think it requires more energy. When I had first graduated from college, I was in a position in New York City where I was inclined to visit a lot of my friends in different parts of the city after work, for example. And for the first couple of months, it's kind of novel and you're having fun and you go out and you have your drink with your friends, and, you know, you have one too many type situation. And then you go to work the next day at 9 o'clock and it's totally fine. But after a while, the hangovers start to kick in. And if it's not even just the hangovers, it's sometimes the underperformance at work, because you're just starting to balance all of these plates and you're starting to juggle things that just can't be juggled anymore. And after a while, either your body or your mind gives out, and you have to make the decision as to what is going to be more important to you. And, you know, it's just weird how we see all of these end of life surveys where people are like, I wanted to spend more time with the people I love doing what I love. And as opposed to maybe working or chasing after a more immediate goal. But that pathing is also something that continues to take more effort. So it's like it's weird how it's something that, when in the position to have as much time as you need to hang out with friends, people choose not to, or choose to kind of like over index maybe on potential opportunities with people, and under index on the important relationships, or being honest with other people about the type of relationships that they're looking to build. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because, you know, as I've been now, like I said, in my late 20s, I have moved a number of times, and I don't know if I'm happier where I am now as opposed to where I was when I was 22. And I, funnily enough, have been journaling for pretty much all of my adult life. So I have pretty categorical evidence as to uh, how my different relationships have played out, and the type of people that are still in my life. And some things have gotten better, some things have gotten worse. Some problems have exacerbated, some problems have completely just solved themselves and gone away. Um, but it's just really interesting. I don't know. I at the beginning of this, I kind of went over how I was roughly feeling as more of like a complaining session of how I'm not getting consistent communication from the people who I'm reaching out to. And also noting the fact that I've been in the same position when people reach out to me, where I'm just like, hey, like, I don't know where I'm at right now. But I don't, you know, you want to be polite and you want to keep things keep things fair and keep things honest. But it's, I don't know, it's a hard game socializing, and I think it only gets harder as people get older, because the rules change too. When you're at work, the rules are completely different than the rules that you'll see in the real world, because the real world is more filled with strangers, whereas like at work it's like a loose connection to a goal where you're trying to solve for a particular problem, and everybody has to be respectful of each other and solve the problem. With friends, it's like light ribbing and like kind of just like pushing each other to do things that are, you know, kind of like that we did when we were kids. And, you know, the transition to adulthood has now like been like, oh, how does that friendship change? And then there's, you know, romantic relationships as well, which in that domain I've never been really confident in. I've never really kind of been able to land the type of romances that I think are um, healthy necessarily, and that goes a lot into my past, which I don't really want to talk about on stream. But yeah, so that's just kind of what I'm thinking about. There's a lot of uh social stuff that happens, I think, in our late 20s, which could be roughly defined as the weakening of the muscle that has been strengthened throughout an over socialized childhood, if I had to put it into like a thesis. But anyway, what else is new? I'm in this new chair. I finally got out of my kitchen chair. I've been streaming from a kitchen chair for the past 2 months now, and I figured enough was enough. I was like kind of like in the market for a used Herman Miller Aeron, and I just couldn't find one that was like worth paying $500 for. I didn't know how long I was going to be wherever I am, in Austin, and I was like, I don't know if I want to like drop $500 on a chair that I might not use, which is ridiculous because I spent $2,000 on a desk, right? So, but I love this desk. This desk has been really great, and I think that I can resell it. Even though I don't know how I'm gonna get it out of my apartment. I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, this thing is really heavy. Like, I don't know who's gonna be able to take this down the flights of stairs to put it in their truck to take to wherever. But I guess I don't know. That's a problem for future me. Um, but so I just ended up getting like an Amazon Basics mesh chair, and it's comfortable. It does like the swivel now, which I can do to keep myself busy, which is exciting. It has armrests, so I was doing a lot of leaning on my keyboard tray with my desk, and I don't have to do that anymore. I can lean on my armrests, which is sick. Um, it did adjust my camera angle, so like before I was kind of like here, and now I'm like back here because the armrests are running into the keyboard tray and I can't go further. Um, but that also, I guess, is what it is, right? There's just kind of trade-offs that you make when you have things that you add to your life. Yeah. Um, so I do want to jump into the projects of the day. I think that I want to talk about the kind of Stack Overflow of projects, indexing and prioritizing um, kind of like different opportunities in front of you, if that makes sense. There's a lot of different projects that I've kind of already built into this stream, and have kind of, some of them have become a little bit overwhelming, and some of them have been a little bit kind of like, as I've been like drafting how I think that they're going to go, I'm like, oh, well, I guess part of it is just showing up, and I'll talk a little bit more about that too. But it's interesting to kind of, I think, take a look at like scoping projects, because I've made a lot of projects over the past like 4 years. So I'm really good at being honest with how long I think a project is going to take. And I'm pretty accurate at knowing what a project, contains, and what works and what doesn't. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to do some front end coding. And this is really exciting. I have built out my embeddings app, but I went through hell setting up shortcuts. And I'll talk about this when we get to it. But it just was like a miserable experience. And then Git broke for some reason on my computer. Oh, what's up, Aka WR? How's it going? How are you? How is your day going? Well, I'm good talking about the front end code. I'm good. Love the setup. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's I actually spent a lot of time like aping this setup. Like I spent a lot of time just like looking for the right like kind of like monitor in my budget and camera in my budget. The hat, actually, funnily enough, is, I consider, a part of the setup. I've been wearing the hat every single stream, and it's a now a kind of like a part of the format of the stream. um, but do you use Obsidian at all? Yeah, have you seen this software that I'm using? Or should I explain it? No, what is that? Okay, great. Yeah. So Obsidian is kind of like a operating system for a folder structure. So the way that you can think about it is that all these notes here So like imagine you have like a directory and all of the files are like markdown files or JavaScript files and stuff like that. And inside of here, you can see that all of the files are like markdown, but then on top of the markdown, you can add all of these things called like plugins and stuff like that too. So for example, what you're looking at is Excalidraw on this one here. So if I jump to this in Excalidraw, you can see that you can do full drawings in here. You can do slideshows. You can do Kanbans. It's actually extremely powerful because of what the community has built with the community plugin section. So there's a bunch of tables. You can do JavaScript with data view, and you can index over your whole directory and find any list. So like this, it's really big in the Dungeons and Dragons space because you can build. You can imagine that like you would use a plugin like data view just there to get everything that's related to a certain character, and then you can use this graph view to see everything that you've referenced here, and then you can like filter your graph to say like anything for like slides or something like that, and it'll show you all the notes with slides in them. You can see if they're connected. You can kind of like jump in and see pictures and stuff like that too. It's just an extremely powerful software. It's still, so it's like a type of Notion but more advanced. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I used Notion for, I want to say 2 years, and right up until like Notion released their API. And I love Notion. I think Notion is phenomenal software. Don't get me wrong. I think that the team and Ivan and everyone has pulled off an amazing job, especially at getting more people excited into the PKM space. But in particular, I needed something that I could use as like that was adaptable from the bottom up. And basically Obsidian is much more flexible than Notion, and that flexibility allows for a lot of different use cases. What's PKM? PKM stands for Personal Knowledge Management. So PKM, let me show you here. Let's say, let's go to Chrome real quick. And then I'll type in Nicholas Luhmann. So PKM basically started when people started taking like journals and stuff like that. But the real philosophy of PKM has changed drastically over the 20th century because everybody becoming knowledge workers for the most part, right? In an era before people were knowledge workers, there was a very like strict pattern to do things, right? So it was like, oh, I do this and then I do that, and then once this thing, that thing happens and stuff like that. Knowledge work isn't really so linear. There's a lot of options that knowledge workers make, which is why you'll have entire teams of support and project managers and QA people and stuff like that. And the whole point of all of these different people is to really kind of help the overall goal of solving something that doesn't really have a real tangible shape or form and isn't really factorizable. So this guy, this Nicholas Luhmann character, created. He worked a lot in system theories, but he created specifically this thing called the Zettelkasten, which is like a note-taking method. And this is what you're seeing in Obsidian. So a note-taking system that he used back in the 1940s was he was using literal note cards. So he would say like, here's my idea one, here's my idea two. And you'll notice that these things have like tags, for example. So he realized that things are related to other things, basically, which is an obvious statement to say. But when I say, let's say that idea A here is twitch.tv and idea B is YouTube. So this tag one would be both like video websites, right? But then for YouTube, it would be like for search, and for Twitch, it would be like live stream and stuff like that. Does that make sense? So this field has evolved a lot over the past 70 years to become more. This is literally, actually, you can go to Germany and you can see his files. This is what it looks like. So today, this is what a Zettelkasten looked like in 1940, and this is what a Zettelkasten looks like in 20 2040. It's not 2040 yet. It'll be smarter in 2040, but you get my point. This is what it gets to. Yo yo yo, tomorrow. What's up, dude? How are you guys doing? Oh my god, I'm loving this. I was going good. Um, elaborating on the history of PKM and how we got to where we are today. Um, to AKA WR. It's This is really great. I think that the space of discovery is really just going to continue to kind of compound because of what's happening in both artificial intelligence, but what's also happening with the interest in the PKM space as more people start working from home and become knowledge workers and things like that. We're going to see a lot more stuff that looks like this, is basically my bet. And as more people kind of dive into the Obsidian workflow, I think we're going to learn a lot about um, what it means to kind of integrate with our thoughts. When I look at my Obsidian, what I see, and this is actually a smaller graph. So if I go to my, let's say this 914, maybe a 910, 99, 7, 17. It's in one of these. Oh wait, you know what? I think it is here. Where's it at? Here we go. So this is my full graph on my actual Obsidian, aka and tomorrow. So you can see like I have a lot of stuff going on in my main graph, and this is basically my file structure that I keep everything in. So I've talked about this in a video that I posted recently on my YouTube channel, but I have all the books that I've read in here and the quotes that I've got from it. I have food journals, I have thoughts, I have code snippets, I have interesting kind of interactions that I've had with other people, like kind of content or contact databases. I have checklists and contact cycles and or excuse me, content builders and things like that. It's really, really very impressive. Yo, George, what's up, dude? What's your workflow with Obsidian? Say you're reading a book IRL. Do you bring it the PC or the phone, etc.? Yes. So basically my workflow is for books is I use this service called Readwise. So Readwise is allows you to kind of like take highlights from different books or tweets or whatever, and basically what'll happen is that you'll be able to import the highlights, and then the imported highlights will automatically sync with Obsidian. So there's a Readwise plugin in Obsidian. Yeah, this official plugin, and I use that, and this automatically like links it into my Obsidian. So when we were looking at this huge graph, that big one to the left there is all of my books, basically, right? These are all the things that I read on like a daily basis. And it's just awesome. I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's nice because it also helps you review things. So today we're going to be talking about embeddings and kind of like this, this front end coding for the embedding. Do you picture the quote? Oh, like, do I take pictures of the quotes? It's so when you are Readwise has a highlighter. So let's say, for example, like if I was on Readwise here, I would basically they have highlighters. I can't really this Chrome browser doesn't have it. If you read a physical copy of the book. Oh yeah, that's actually a good question. I don't know. I've actually haven't read many physical books because I bought a Kindle back in like 2017, and I just have been using it since then because I found personally that I wouldn't remember anything that I had read in physical books because I would just not feel inclined to read it. That said, that's a good question. I'll see if there's like a service, Readwise OCR, I imagine. Okay, so it says that if you have the iOS app, you can capture highlights from the paper books by using your phone's camera. So we can actually see it in this video here. I don't know if that's showing up, but you can see that people are in this space using Rewise and also uh, capturing it directly into their Readwise. That's pretty cool. I've never used this functionality. Readwise has a cool beta app, which I would love to show the stream, but I'd have to like do all the login and stuff like that. So I might do that another day. But they basically are also now in the space of the Read Later app thing, right? So like when you are using something like Instapaper or Pocket, you know, if you've ever used Pocket, Pocket is basically a app that allows you to just basically save pages that you see across the internet, and then Pocket turns them into uh, Readwise, and the annotator are my favorite tools to integrate with Obsidian so far. I haven't used the annotator. What's the annotator? Is that a highlighting plugin? And Obsidian.L for quick notes. Obsidian.L. Did I click it right? Is it a plugin? It might be a plugin. Annotator. Oh, annotator. Interesting. A plugin for saving PDFs and EPUBs into Obsidian. Oh, this is cool. So this is a plugin that uses web hypothesis, but is modified on annotations in a local markdown file instead of the internet. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely save this one. I think, funnily enough, there's a lot of research that I'm planning on doing for the YouTube channel. So I was like looking for something that actually does this too. Hey, Katuno, how's it going? Welcome. I don't use Obsidian today, but it seems promising. Yeah, it's sick. I highly recommend it. It's also one of those tools that is going to become more common. I promise. Even just because of the crazy plugin community, you're going to see a lot more people using it. Do you use it as my primary note taking app? I use it as my primary everything app. So I use it to power pretty much my habit tracking. So like, for example, hold on, I can take a picture of this for you and then upload it into the stream. So I have my daily tracking kept in here. So let's see. Give me a second. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So like here, I'm using Obsidian to do like daily weight tracking and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. My exercise and weight log. I'm also using it. So like you can see for this, for example, this built on stream project where I had the video presentation. I use it to do slideshows. So I can hit this button here that says slow slide preview, and you can use it as a slideshow. So you can actually have slideshows that are done from Obsidian too. So I use this for presentations and videos. Damn, I want to say annotator doesn't work well, and I've had nothing but a good time with annotator. Yeah, I'll have to try it out, and then maybe I'll come back on stream and make my own opinion known, and then we can all go at it in the chat, and we can decide who, if annotator is truly the greatest PDF plugin that Obsidian has to offer, and we can figure that out live. One thing I found difficult with apps like these is coming back to them. Notion feels so heavy and difficult to take for small notes. Example. No, that's a great point. So I actually use shortcuts. So I have a shortcut that says like quick capture to Obsidian. So I'll also take a picture of this and upload it to Obsidian. Here we go. So what you're seeing here in front of you is that basically what I have to make things faster, aka, is that I will use my phone and I'll take a shortcut using my device, and then it will automatically upload into my file directory. And you can see at the bottom there the Obsidian advanced URI thing, and then it basically saves it directly into the vault and then opens that vault as a notification, and then I can just jump directly to that file. So you want to definitely nail, if you're familiar with Cal Newport's work at all, he's really big into the capture configure. So basically I use this kind of function where I will use capturing and then use Obsidian level for organization. I can't highlight, my cursor isn't showing up. But then that allows me to execute on projects. Agreed. I feel like PKM naps need a seamless mobile option to quickly reference or take notes. That has always been my biggest issue when I'm out and need some notes, but I'm not near my PC. I totally agree with you guys. I think that the switch between being able to, oh my God, I messed up. Hold up. I clicked OBS. Okay, put that there. Oh no. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're back. Um, I lost my train of thought. So like when you're on your phone, I completely agree. I needed to add a bunch of workflows to make the app feel better. I will say that the Obsidian app, when it's small, like if the graph is like about this big, it shouldn't feel that heavy. It should load pretty quickly. But again, when you're dealing with my graph, which is basically a bottomless pit, it's huge, right? So I have like tens of thousands of notes in my graph. So it doesn't work for me to be able to load mobily as fast. So I have to use apps like, or shortcuts like this one and full apps to do that. Katuno, am I an engineer? I am an engineer. Yes, I am a software engineer. I'm a developer ambassador for OpenAI by day. And I also run a business called Stenography, which allows you to use codecs to document code in real time. But my passion is Obsidian recently, and I've been spending a lot of my time thinking very deeply about this software. I think that this is one of those things that if we get it right, it can really unlock a lot of people's creativity and allow them to find connections that aren't exactly obvious in their day-to-day lives. So, for example, even in my one of my recent videos on YouTube, I was discussing this templater thing, for example. So there's like you can use this templater app, which I don't know if tomorrow if you've used this app before, the templater plugin, excuse me, but like it's freaking awesome. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that you can do with it is super cool. It allows you to also nest lists too. So I was like, I've been using this nested checklist thing for going live on stream actually. So I've been able to. Oh yeah, do I have a what is that exclamation point Twitter? I've never seen that. I also don't have a Twitter, but I used to have a Twitter. I used to make a lot of GPT-3 demos back in 2020, and then I kind of got a little bit overwhelmed with Twitter. But you can check out my YouTube. It should be in the description or the whatever the description box is for Twitch. I'm still pretty new to all of this, so I apologize. I started streaming in July of late July of this year, so I just got all the setup going and stuff like that, and I have my live stream set up, but I don't have all of my live stream world set up yet, if that makes sense. Let me see here. So yeah, so then there's like these partial checklists that I've built into my main vault where I like have this these checklists before I go live. So that's actually something that I recommend too, is that if you're kind of like getting into the Obsidian space, there are a few things that I would think about. So let's say that like the number one thing that I would think about if when getting started with Obsidian is probably to figure out. So actually, let's just draw this out real quick. So let's say that this is our root node, and this is like the things we need to Obsidian. So like what do we think that we might need to Obsidian is like the question that we're trying to answer here, right? So I think that we can start off by thinking about how notes go into our system. Everyone I've heard of in YouTube who deals with Obsidian are engineers, medic students, or PhDs. Yeah. And a lot of, like I said, D&D folks, a lot of like people in theology as well. I find that there is a really interesting community forming around a lot of different types of thought leaders in the PKM kind of Obsidian space. I think it's personally exciting because, like, again, you'll find a lot of plugins here. For example, like if I go to this plugins browse section and I go to like Dice Roller, this is an extremely popular plugin, but it was very much made for D&D, right? Like this person built this Dice Roller plugin so that he could play Dungeons and Dragons better, which is cool. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's such an interesting interface here. And like I said, I do developer ambassador work for OpenAI. So it's cool to know that there's another space that's like growing with a bunch of really intelligent people creating really awesome stuff and being able to to work in this space has just been really gratifying. So you're totally right, Katuno. There's a ton of engineers, medic students, and I'm on the list of the engineering folk for sure. Um, but it's awesome to see how this field is growing so much, growing so much. So anyway, so the things that we need to Obsidian. So I think we need to say that first we have to capture, right? So capturing is like the number one thing that we need to do. Let's say that you have a thought. So let's go over to, where's my, um, 1 second, new window. Over here, do this, close this, do that. Okay. So let's say that you have an idea, right? Or a thought. So I'm going to copy this image in here. Whoa. Oh no, it's doing the data image copy. No. Copy image. Paste. Nice. So, you have an idea, right? And I think that ideas don't always look like this guy looks way too happy to be having an idea. I think most ideas come in passing. If you're familiar with the terminology salvatar ambulato, that means to figure out something while you're walking. So you'll be out on a walk and something will come into your mind. Salvatur ambulato. This is the idea of when you're walking, something will just kind of like appear to you as obvious, but it wasn't obvious before, right? So this is, to me, where most of my ideas come from. They come from walks, they come from showers, they come from things where I'm just kind of chilling, hanging, and that's when ideas usually arise. So how does that work for what we're trying to describe here? So let's say that you have an idea, right? You have the idea that you want to capture it down. So you like, okay, you have a few options. You can either speak it into a microphone, you can write it down, you can video record yourself. You try to figure out some way to capture that information. So let's say that you take this idea, you capture it, and then it gets captured into into a system. But like, what does the system look like, right? So let's say that we have a system over here that we trust, and this is a concept that I didn't really understand how important it was until I had a system that broke on me. And like, a story behind this is basically, I had a PC and Notion and a few other apps that I was using, and it was very disjointed. Like, I didn't really know where things went when they disappeared, right? Like, I would spend a lot of time, um, kind of thinking like, if I have idea X and I need to put it somewhere, then I might lose it, right? There was a lot of things that just kind of got lost in the proverbial mail. So the idea is that you want to build a system where things don't get lost that frequently. You want you want a system where you can come back to it and feel confident that everything is in the right place before. And ideally, you want to set up that organization beforehand so you don't need to go through and think about how to basically add a priority structure to things after the fact. And this is like something that's like really complicated, because it kind of has to be, it's like building a plane engine while you're in mid-flight, or fixing a plane engine while you're in mid-flight a little bit. But we can talk a little bit about that with the system we trust idea. So Obsidian needs to be a system that we trust, right? That's a given. We need to create a system in Obsidian so that we can feel confident that anything that we put into Obsidian will be something that we can find. Yeah, I find that so frustrating too. Exactly. So it's like you want to be able to capture and then have a system that you trust where you can figure. So basically, what I've done for Obsidian, my own Obsidian, is that I've created external apps, and plugins, and workflows. And basically, these workflows, external apps, and plugins all do independent work to make the system trustworthy. So this, and this all have a responsibility. Oh, I'm in the way. I'll have a responsibility to make the system work it when I do this capture, because the idea should be that you should be able to just do things on your day to day, right? Like you should never feel your system is the bottleneck between what you're trying to do. So you'll see that a lot on this stream. You know, like a lot of the experiment that I'm conducting with this stream is to try and create something that shows people PKM in action. So you'll be able to see like, oh, this is how I would be able to conduct the task of updating my checklists in real time, and also hopefully use it in a kind of entertaining fashion so we can just have fun too, because I think it's really important when we're playing with this idea to play, right? Like it shouldn't necessarily feel like so stressful to do. So I hope that answers your question, broadly speaking, about like the seamless mobile to quickly reference or take notes tomorrow and Katuno, is that I have built different workflows, and this is going to be different for everybody. Really, I think a good way of setting these systems up is that you should think just about this capture thing, and then just try and put it on something that you already know kind of works. So like a folder structure, for example. So like if I were to take a picture of my actual Dropbox Obsidian, uh, so it literally looks like this, right? Like, there we go. Hold on. Um, hold on. Hold. Okay, here we go. So like you can see, it's literally just a file structure, right? So these are all just markdown files, and you can trust that that's going to be pretty fine between machines, right? All computers kind of have folders, structures that you would be able to leverage to capture. And if you have them in, you know, something where you can just like focus on this capturing thing, you'll start to notice what the problems are, right? You'll start to be like, oh, actually, it really sucks when I don't have the right tags for these things, or it really, and you'll make a new workflow so that it templates the tags for you automatically. Or you're like, oh, it really sucks that I can't use my phone on the go to take voice notes and then record them into my app, and then you'll make a shortcut like I did where I dictate to Obsidian. Or you're like, oh, I really wish that there was a way to discover, like, look at this visually through like a full calendar, right? I want to be able to see like a full calendar in my Obsidian, and then you'll find a plugin that solves that for you. So there's just a bunch of stuff that I think will help you get unstuck in the Obsidian space. So just like, you know, I think it's great to just get started, because the ceiling is really high, but at the root of it, just really just start making a folder of markdown files. One thing I was thinking a lot was that there were tasks that requires connecting all the notes in the vault so that I can't rely on independent apps. Yeah, actually, so there's a plugin that may be helpful for you here, which is called Tasks plugin. And I don't know if you've used this tomorrow too, but the Task plugin is super popular. And basically what the Task plugin does is that it allows you to search by all tasks in a tag. So like you'll be in a heading that says like, I can actually just show you. So let's say that we have a heading here called to do live, and then we're going to say like 1, 2, 3, and then let's go to a new note here, and then we're going to say like show tasks. Yeah, I've seen a video that uses quick add with daily notes to capture every task with the, yeah. So you know how this is going to play out then. So then we can just do tasks. I think it's like not done or something. Actually, I have to find it. I don't know the syntax. Tasks. Okay, here we go. As you can see, I'm pretty quick with this software, but I've spent a lot of time doing it. So like if you don't feel bad if I move really quickly through Obsidian, I just spent hours and days of my life. It's been over a year since I've used this software, so I'm just very yeah, I'm very quick with it. Oh, you too? That's awesome. Um I don't know. I like it. I like being really fast with this software. But yeah, you can see how tasks are now synced from other places in the vault. Uh Connecting notes in the vault so I can't rely on independent apps. That's interesting though. I wonder, you could probably do something where you can capture the output of this block and then you could give it to something like Todoist. Like I know that there is a community plugin for I don't use Todoist, but I've seen a lot of people talk about it. Have you ever used this Todoist sync plugin? Because that might work with tasks. You might be able to write like an interop layer that allows you to take um this filter and then like pipe it through the tasks plugin. I tried Todoist, but it's not my style. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Todoist either. I think I used it a few years ago, or was it? I don't know. It was one of them. I think it was the Mac one, things perhaps. But yeah, I also felt like it really wasn't my thing. Um, so yeah, that was kind of like a whole. The task plugin is more customizable, yeah, for sure. And also, like, I really like how you can edit the priority of these tasks here and just hit like apply and just automatically takes hold across the vault without actually just changing the text. Like what they did here was really smart. Like by using this emoji to like represent priority, it's actually very clever. And I also like how they do this emoji for when you finish it, because I don't know about anybody in the chat, but I know like when I'm doing stuff a lot of the time, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit with the project overflow thing, is that I feel really like sometimes like imposter syndrome. You'll be doing something and you'll feel really like you're not doing enough, right? You'll feel bad. You'll feel like, oh, I didn't do enough today or whatever. So being able to like kind of like actually query that thing by like saying like, oh, what did I do today, and then like going into your search and then like physically searching for everything that you did that matches this thing and showing you the exact count of all the stuff that you completed feels really good. So I would recommend, as just a psychological hack, that if anyone is kind of like using Obsidian and you're using tasks and you're feeling down on yourself, just like find all of the things that have this checkmark completion thing for the week or something like that. Like go through and do like and get like the week and then just look at the count, because that just makes you feel a lot better, at least for me. Makes me feel like I'm not just a lazy bum. Speaking of bum, let's bum back into the project stack overflow indexing and prioritizing opportunity thing that I was going to talk about. Task definitely looks helpful. Going to look into it. I've gotten a lot of benefit out of Obsidian Reminder to keep me on things that I might forget throughout the day. That's interesting. I haven't used Obsidian Reminder too. I I've used the full calendar plugin, and I built a vault based on Brian Jenks templates. Yeah, that's another thing too. I think that there's a lot of cool templates that are starting to take off. By the way, this is hosted on GitHub, so if you are a GitHub user, you can go to github.com/bramses/built on stream. So this repo is public. So if you're interested in like looking at all of this stuff that's happening in this repository and vault, and you want to just download it and fork it and play with it, like please feel free to. It's like, again, at GitHub, Ramses built on stream is where you can find it. And it has all that stuff. I've been trying to commit to it every time that I finish going live. I didn't last time because my GitHub was broken. But you can find all of the things in here, the images, the drawings, like all this stuff. What is GitHub? Oh, GitHub is like the main code repository on the internet. So this is like where all open source code is hosted. So like if you are a software engineer like myself, you will use GitHub or GitLab to host code and work with people. So for example, when I have a let's just go to like GitHub's explore page, for example. Um hmm, I'm not logged in on GitHub on my stream Chrome. Let's see. Let me do GitHub. Maybe let's just type in JavaScript. So there's just a bunch of different repos that people publish here. As you can see, there's 1,429,000 repos, and you can see how people share their code and stuff like that. This is a huge part of my workflow, right? So like you'll see, like for example, on um, my own GitHub, you can see all the code that you've written and stuff like that too. It keeps track of everything that you've committed. There's your code is hosted live. So I have like this project called Kaneki, which is a actually uses Obsidian as a CMS. So if anyone is interested in that, definitely like put like a one or in the chat or something like that, and I can make a whole presentation about that. Talk about how to blog from Obsidian using Next.js. It's a little complicated. It's not it's not a tutorial that I can really like lightly jump into. I'm just gonna have to kind of go whole hog and talk about how to host things on Next.js and do MDX and stuff like that. But if you are interested, definitely put something in the chat. Let me know that you're interested in that kind of thing, and I can kind of like maybe plan for it in the upcoming future. Please do. Yeah. It's pretty unique and specific. I'm not an engineer student, but that looks great. Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah. I can definitely do it tomorrow. I think I'm excited to talk about this app because I use it all the time, and it would really allow me to also talk about tech snippets as well. It would allow me to talk about how server management works and stuff like that too. And I think that could be just helpful and fun, and could just be a really chill stream too. Not an engineering student, but that looks great. Yeah, I think if you are in the Obsidian space, you will eventually start coding in some shape or form, because there's going to be a plugin that you're going to want and you're going to be like, oh, how do I do it? And there's an Obsidian API. I was hoping that this would have a link to the API. RIP. Obsidian API. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so this Obsidian API allows you to write your own plugins. So if you are in the space of Obsidian and you were like, oh dang, I need to write something, like I need something that exists, you're gonna get that itch, Katuno, you know what I mean? And then when that itch hits and you're like, I need to solve for something, you're gonna want to do it, trust me. As a matter of fact, like I could show you right now, for example. So this thing that I was just talking about with a embedded search. So I have my vault here where I can run this get all function. And let's say I hit this try it out button, I hit execute. It's going to load over 3,000 indexed files. So I have over 3,000 files in here that are just like all of the stuff in my vault. Let me refresh it. And then let me log into this thing. Authorize. Yeah, close. And then go to search. So this is actually, tomorrow has been here for some of this and seeing this be made, but it's a lot further now tomorrow, which is awesome. So like, watch this. So I can do my real vault. So let's say to go brain, and let's say I want to type in like GitHub here, or let's say like, yeah, let's just do GitHub. So now I hit execute. We can see GitHub is my main social media, stream GitHub is live. So these all match GitHub, which is interesting. Like I kind of wanted it to not match exactly. So let's say that you couldn't remember the name of GitHub. So let's say you were like online code hosting repository, and then you hit execute. It should still return GitHub. Yep, GitHub introduces sponsor only things, source graph, creative code management. And now here's the cool part. If I actually highlight this note here for creative code management, for example, and then I go to a new tab and I hit this Obsidian Advanced URI that you can see in the URL here. This part's freaking sick. It's going to open Obsidian, open up the thing, which I'm going to have to take a picture of because that one doesn't show up on my on my stream. But it literally opens the file in Obsidian. Alt 8. Alt 8. Oh, wait. Alt 8. Hold. Okay. Yeah, so it opens the file in Obsidian. It works completely end to end, and I actually am going to build a front end for it. That's definitely for software engineers. I'm just studying economics. Yeah, continue. I feel that, man. I feel like that you know, cre- software is one of those things where you get into it, I think, either by choice or by force. And I very much went into it by choice. I studied computer science, but I think to really unlock a lot of creativity, a lot of people end up in software by force. So they'll be like, "Oh, I'm just I haven't coded ever," and then they'll be like, "But I have this really cool idea, and I don't necessarily want to wait for a software engineer to build it for me." And you can learn how to build it yourself, and that's like the great part about being an engineer is that you can have a lot of autonomy over your own uh, growth chart. So I highly recommend learning code just because of all the cool stuff that you can do with it. I think there's a lot of career options, but it also is just cool to be able to um, have a flexible optional career where you can decide to build something like your own search engine into Obsidian and just go completely Mongo on stream about it for 2 weeks straight now. I've been working on this project. I don't know. Tomorrow probably knows better than me, but I've been working on this project now for like 2 weeks, and actually, which is why I keep getting sidetracked. But which is why I want to actually talk about freaking how to do project management for an individual. So let's talk about Stack Overflow, indexing, prioritizing opportunity. Okay, cool. We're doing it. So let's put let's say that there is a few things that are going on here. So am I in the way? Hold on, let me get rid of this bar here. Okay. So let's say that are you are a person who has constraints. So let me how do I close this? Okay, there we go. So there are a few constraints that every person is imposed upon, right? So let's say that let's call this our list of constraints. So every person is constrained by time, um, financial resources, available technology, prop, knowledge. There's more, of course. This is not the full list of constraints that keep people stuck, but this is just a list of constraints that I think are relevant to what I'm going to be talking about right now. So let's say that you are a young upstart engineer who wants to create a project. So let's talk about what a project looks like at the beginning and end too, right? So let's say that this is the start of a project. And this is the end of a project. So basically, you can imagine that all projects move from X to Y here, right? All projects start off as basically ideas. They also start off as, so let's say that a project always starts off as an idea. It starts off as a collection of loose thoughts around a subject. It also is a desire, we could say, right? So like when you have a desire to finish a project. You're like, oh, I think my life will be better and when I have this thing, which is a potential solution to a problem. The end of a project is going to look something more along the lines of a finished solution to a problem. It's going to be a real app slash physical object in the universe. And it's going to be, I would argue, consistent. And maybe I can talk a little bit about what I mean by the word consistent here, because that's strange. So I think consistent in this case actually is referencing the idea that every time you run whatever you're running, it'll work every single time, right? So every time you hit 1 minute on the microwave, you expect the microwave to run for 1 minute, right? You don't expect it to run for 25 minutes, or you don't expect it to explode or whatever, right? So usually when a finished project works consistently and when it breaks, we call that a malfunction, right? So as a creator, and I'm not even going to say developer because I know Katuna, like you said, you're in economics, for example. There's a world where like you have to kind of like move from a loose idea into something that's like a finished thing that you can hold within your hands. And getting from X to Y is not trivial, right? Like there's a lot of things that need to happen for people to feel that a project is complete. And most of these things are held under these constraints where you have time constraints. So you'd be like, okay, I need to finish this in at the most like a human lifespan, because there are projects that can take a whole lifespan. But then there's like the books that people write for like 10 years or 20 years, or the movies like Avatar 2, for example. So Avatar 2 um is coming out recent soon. And this is funny. So Avatar, The Way of Water is it like is coming out like 20 years after the original came out. So wait, let me see. The original came out in, when did the original Avatar come out? Avatar release date. So the original Avatar release date came out December 18th, 2009. This new one is coming out December 16th, 2022. So the question might be asked, why did it take so long to complete this project? And it's not like it caught anyone off guard too, right? Like I would argue that both of these count in our finished project things. Why? Because like let's say that it's a finished solution to a real problem. So like James Cameron made Avatar. It's a real physical object in the universe. You can go see Avatar 1 today, and on December 22nd, you'll see Avatar 2, and it's consistent because every time you watch Avatar, it's the same movie, right? It's still Avatar. It's always going to be Avatar. You're never going to turn on the Avatar DVD and Titanic will start playing, which is also another James Cameron movie, funnily enough. Um, but I think it's really interesting to look at the fact that both of these finished projects operated under the same constraints, where they had time, they had financial resources that was available to the company, or um, the studio in the case of Avatar, available technology. So Avatar in 2009 was really popular because it was super technologically advanced for the time. People would go to Avatar and they would like leave the theater crying because they were so sad to go back into like the real world, for example, right? But in 2022, the technology of Avatar isn't that exciting anymore. It's not that new to like use CGI, right? Like it's in all Marvel movies. Like TikTokers use CGI. Like it's not a big deal to like use crazy CGI anymore. So the but the available technology has gotten better. We now live in a world where AR and VR are more common. Things that happened in 2009 technologically just didn't exist now that do exist now, if that makes sense. And knowledge, right? So the studio that paid for Avatar knew that James Cameron made a ton of money off of Avatar, right? So that was like one of the knowledge things that they went into the creation of Avatar 2 with, but they didn't know that he was going to take 13 years to release the second movie on a thing that they signed up for 5 for, right? So they signed up for 5 movies and he's taking 13 years to release the second movie. Uh, I know, right? Which is crazy. So obviously, we're not working on the scale of Avatar here. Like these projects, I just wanted to make the point that creative projects are something that can span whole different fields. Like I think I'm of the mind that creativity isn't limited to one field. It can be creativity can exist in how you dance. Creativity can exist in how you talk to other people. Creativity can exist in what you create live, like on live stream here. Like this live streaming is a creative act. But it's interesting, I think, as a product developer and as a software engineer to talk about how I deal with these constraints and how I choose projects and how I deal with the kind of anxiety of not being able to complete all the projects that I want to be able to complete, but also being able to um, consistently finish stuff, right? Because I think that we all want to feel like we can finish Avatar 2 less than 13 years before after Avatar 1, right? I feel like we all if we in this chat right now, we're all James Cameron, would we be confident that we could complete Avatar in a reasonable clip, right? So I want to talk about this. So I want to show you kind of a list of different stream ideas that I have had, and I can like just show you some of these are like kind of like I want to keep a secret because I think they're kind of fun and neat. But let's say that like I have these 4. Let's just do all of these. This is good. So I'm gonna copy it in here. I swear I have so many windows sometimes. It's crazy. I wish I had like maybe I'll write a bot that does it for me. That's another project, right? um, so this is just a sample of like projects that I want to build for this stream, right? So I can talk about how I think that each of these projects would end, but I can kind of just like run over it really quickly and say kind of like what I see them taking and like what it means to kind of like finish a project, right? And how much time things take. So for example, let's talk about like the history of open floor office layouts. So for this one, I've had the idea for a while. Let's lower the opacity of this to that maybe. I used to work in like one of those tech offices that like has those open floor office layouts, and they're like to me pretty miserable. Like I felt very uncomfortable working in an open floor layout because even though it was like the idea was to enhance creativity and communication between the teams, I think it just made it awkward to have conversations about things, right? So like let's say that you were like trying to have a conversation like with your team member. So like, you know, your team member's over here and she comes up with something interesting, and then you're over here and you have to like go talk to her about something. But then also because people have ears, there's like 5 other people who are just like also like in the way, right? So like you'll be in an open floor office layout, and because everybody is in the same space and everybody can hear your conversation, there is no such thing as like a private conversation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I think open office floor layouts are just ridiculous and that they actually cause less creativity to happen within in an office environment. So like the time constraint of that is actually relatively short, right? A lot of this is kind of like me just ranting about anecdotal experience, maybe going back and adding some detailed data for some research that I found on the internet. Let's say that we do 3 to 5 papers that talk about the open floor office layout. Relatively entertaining, pretty interesting. Financial resources, it doesn't cost me anything to make this. The available technology, again, this is just basically an Excalidraw demonstration, but also I might make a slideshow using Obsidian Advanced Slides, and the knowledge is probably the bottleneck. So the biggest bottleneck for this would be the knowledge to create an entertaining dialogue from this thing. The World Around Prince of Egypt movie is different, right? So even though it's very similar in the sense that like both are videos or blog posts, they're not code based, right? This one involves a lot more research. So it involves a lot more time as a bottleneck and knowledge. The available technology and financial resources, fortunately, don't also come into play here, but something to think about. Virtual computers in 3JS. Actually, let's skip that one because whatever. The Fireplace Lo-Fi Note-Taking Obsidian app. So this one came to me because like I have like a on my YouTube, there's like a thing that like shows you what people who are watching your videos are searching, and like YouTube will be like, did you know that a lot of people are searching for like study rooms and fireplaces? And I'm like, that's kind of interesting because like a lot of people do go onto Obsidian and they're kind of like looking for like a way to like kind of just like uh chill for a few hours and like add a bunch of notes about whatever they're studying: economics, calculus, mathematics, computer science, and being able to like create like a little lo-fi app that maybe like loads your favorite lo-fi video into Obsidian and puts it in the bottom right corner, I think could be really funny. But that actually requires a lot more knowledge resources because that means that I'll have to actually use the available technology. So this available technology hasn't come into play until this last one here that we're just talking about. But I would need to know what technology is available to me to be able to make this thing, because it might just so happen that the iframe loading for this Fireplace Lo-Fi thing wouldn't work consistently. Or what happens when users are trying to use it, but then they get stuck in certain, you know, loops, right? Like what happens if you want to like load a new video in, right? There's a whole bunch of things that can kind of like break in real time that you need to account for. And then finally, let's talk about this iOS shortcut audit, where this is another project. And basically the idea is just to go over kind of like a lot of those shortcuts that we were talking about earlier in the chat, where people were saying like, oh, hey, like how do you handle mobile additions to Obsidian? And being able to audit the different shortcuts that I made, I think could be helpful too. And that is also just mainly a time constraint. So as we noticed here, most projects are time and knowledge, right? So obviously time and knowledge, I'll keep that structure. Thanks. Yeah. Um, Time and knowledge tend to be the biggest barriers, I think, to a project's success. And I think that there are a few things that you can do consistently that I've learned over the years that make projects easier. So let's talk about that. So like let's go here and let's say transparent, and then let's up the opacity, and let's go here and let's call this delivering on your work. So what are some things that we can do to consistently deliver on our work? I think that we can use prior work as a footstool for success. So basically what this means is that you want to be able to use the stuff that you've already written, the stuff that you've already coded, to leverage to make new things. So like, for example, with the Obsidian thing that we were talking about with my CMS, with Tomorrow and Kaneki, was that I was able to leverage stuff that I had built in the past using Obsidian's plugins to kind of like skip a lot of steps, right? So that my available technology bottleneck was a lot smaller. For time, I think that the MVP model is super helpful. So if you're not familiar with the MVP model, this is a very common trope in technology where just the idea is that you create the minimum viable version of the product that you're trying to create. So maybe we can jump back up here and we can talk about what the minimum viable version of these things look like, right? So the minimum viable the world around Prince of Egypt, to me, is roughly a 10-minute video that's relatively engaging. As engaging as I can be. I'm not like Mr. Beast, but like as engaging as I can be about an interesting topic of the Prince of Egypt. So that probably requires 3 to 5 interesting sources that are interlinked and things that people would be excited to tell their friends about, because right, like that's the minimum of video. Same thing with this history of open office floor layouts, a little bit more opinionated, this one than this one. Obviously, this one's much more factual and more journalistic. And then this one is more uh, railing on open floor office layouts. This fireplace lo-fi note-taking one is interesting, right? Because like, what is the minimum viable product for the fireplace lo-fi note-taking app? And I would argue that it would be something where you could hit a hotkey and then it would just start playing like lo-fi chill girl. And you would just be sitting there and like you would be able to hit play and pause really easily. Maybe have like a search bar where you can choose between a few videos, right? That's probably the minimum one. Obviously, you can continue to scale it. It's like, oh, well, then you could just play any YouTube video or something like that. But I think the idea would be that it would be just kind of like a fun little like study background type situation. So there's probably like some CSS that needs to be on there too. iOS shortcut audit, again, minimum viable shortcut audit would be like a 10-minute video that just talks about interesting shortcuts that can help people write better capture tools for apps like Obsidian, but also just talking about other shortcuts that I use day to day, because I think that just shortcuts is low key underrated. It's like insane to use. Like shortcuts, it's like a hellscape to program in. And if anyone learns to program through shortcuts, I pity them, because shortcuts is a miserable programming experience, and they're going to think that programming is miserable when in fact it's shortcuts that is miserable. But I think that the stuff that you can make with shortcuts is just really, really, really kind of cool. So, yeah. But anyway, so these are the things that we can start with. So we can say that you have to use your prior work as a footstool for your success is very important. So how do I change the color of this text? Just this text. No, I don't want to do that. I don't know if you can do that. I wonder if there's like plugins or something. I keep saying like whenever I hit this like personal or this Obsidian button, they have like insert actions and stuff like that. What does this do? Oh, you can select a drawing. What does this do? Markdown. LaTeX expression for you math heads out there. Links. What does this do? Oh, I don't know what that does. Export. I don't really want to export right now. TM. Weird. What does that do? Oh, full screen? Whoa. I didn't know I could do that. Learning something new every day. Sometimes you just also got to click buttons and say, what does this do? That's like I feel like a pretty big part of the project lifecycle is like, if you're just trying to create something, you just say, oh, what does this do? I don't know what it does. And then you just click around and find out. Um, Script Kit on Mac OS is pretty sweet. Can write scripts to run anywhere with JavaScript, just like Obsidian. Oh, I haven't tried Script Kit. Is that where you run like Apple Script and like Automator scripts? Because I have played a little bit with Automator and I felt like Automator was a little bit hard and convoluted. I don't know if you saw my video where I did the video editing script in JavaScript, but I have a script that allows me to use FFmpeg, and that's using, I think, Objective-C. It might be using ScriptKit, actually. I don't know. Hold on, let me see. Is this ScriptKit? Hold on. I'm going to switch scenes. Is this what you're talking about? I actually haven't seen this before. Yeah, that's it. Oh, this looks sick. Wait, yeah, no, this is fire. Okay, yeah, you can open up all the apps and file search. Oh, this is sick. Giphy. Oh wow, that's really cool. This actually would be really helpful, I think. Funnily enough for this stream, because I find that like I have like a lot of images that I'm like saving really quickly to my clipboard. And I was like maybe thinking like, oh, I should just write like a script that allows me to like copy an image directly to um clipboard and then like immediately save it into this built-on stream directory. But I could probably use like a script from ScriptKit to do that. Center app. Yeah, dude. This is awesome. Thank you for the recommendation on this. This is really cool. And it uses JavaScript, which I like. I'm a big JavaScript boy. So that you definitely keyed into my love language, which is JavaScript. Um so yeah, so I think that these two this use prior work as a footstool for uh success, the MVP model, but then also being able to know when enough is part of the MVP model, and kind of like let's talk maybe like prioritization and time sharing. So this last one here probably needs a little bit of elaboration because it's more different than the other. It's different than the others. But when I say project prioritization, I mean like being able to hot swap between projects and not lose where you are currently. So you want to hot swap between projects. You want to not lose where you are in a project. And you want to use what you've learned in other projects to make current one easier. And this one is the most important one coming up, is that you, and that's, I'm very adamant about this as an engineer, is you want to like never, and I'm going to do this in caps, never do same work twice. This is broad, obviously, because there's a lot of cases where you can't avoid doing work more than once, right? Because that's just like how, for example, eating, right? Like we all need to eat every single day. So in theory, we are never done eating and you have to repeat the work of eating. But I find that with like a lot of content creators and coders and stuff like that, they won't take the time to abstract a little bit further above what they're doing to never have to do the same thing again. So like I have, for example, a lot of like of like scripts in my Alfred that allow me to save a lot of time doing things. So like I have this one, for example, that allows me to remove backgrounds from like a PNG. So I can like go in here and I can kind of like run this rem script every single time that I need to take a backgrounded image and like remove the background using machine learning. And before I would literally like run the script manually. I would like go into terminal and do this and all that. But I was like, you know what? Let me take it up a level and just like write a script that takes care of it for me. And obviously we'll talk about this with the CMS and stuff like that too later. But this is how I think that you can really limit the space of these, or limit the bottlenecks of these constraints so that they don't become too overwhelming, and get you from having more projects from this state to this state. So basically using prior work as a footstool for success, the MVP model, prioritization and time sharing, which was prioritization is being able to hot swap between projects and understand that certain projects are stuck in a waiting on stage because you need certain things to exist before you get there. A lot of those will be um, available technology or financial resources from yourself or other people for the projects that you want to complete. And I'm lagging like crazy. You want to not lose where you are in a project. This is more involved in capture, right? So the idea is that you should be actively capturing stuff that you're doing in your project work. And then you want to use what you've learned from this capture process to make your current project easier. So look at number 2. And then finally, you never want to do the same work twice. And I think that this was the most important one for finishing a lot of projects at like a high level of kind of like quote unquote, let's say like the holy grail of projects, whether you're an author or an economist or a computer scientist or you're James Cameron, you the highest level of output is being prolific, right? You've released the high quality stuff at like a quantity where people have come to expect a certain level of consistency from you, and they come back and they find your work a lot and they're very interested in what you do. And I think to be able to do that, a consistent way to be able to do that is to leverage these techniques to make it so that every new project that you take on from just a loose idea doesn't overwhelm you and explode and become finished. I think that's pretty much it. Well, actually, I did want to talk a little bit about like choosing projects, but I think basically the idea of choosing a project is that you learn when you finish more projects which projects aren't really worth doing. So like some projects are just fun because you just want to try them out, and I think that that is a expectation that you need to set going in to building a project, is saying, is this going to be a project that I'm going to be sharing with other people? Is this a project that I want to have a certain financial outcome or a certain level of awards or a certain level of respect from whoever I'm looking for respect for? Or is this something for me that I just kind of want to be fun and make my life easier? So when you kind of can answer those questions, and I think most importantly, keep yourself as your first customer, it becomes really easy to decide if your project was a success or not. So thank you for listening to me talk about projects. That was good. Project Stack Overflow. And it's helpful to me too, because I feel like I have all these ideas, and a lot of the bottleneck sometimes is just going live and not being able to kind of like get in my own way because of all these like projects that need to be done. So being able to kind of look at this project list and say like, oh, this is the one. Can you please share that Excel draw with us? Yeah. So like I said, this whole repo is published on GitHub. This was so interesting. I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah, this whole repo is open sourced on GitHub. So if you just go to github.com Bramsy's built on stream, it won't be there until probably the end of after I go offline with this stream, because I have to like push it and it uses a lot of my bandwidth and my internet is absolute duty. So like it won't upload. It'll kill my frame rate because of all the images and stuff that are in there. So I have to do it like when I go offline. But by the end of today, it will definitely be in this built on stream repo. And you'll be able to go in there. And if you're using Obsidian, you can just download this vault. Like I said, feel free to play with it, destroy it, tear it apart. I really, I think that that's like a big part of this, is that I found that at least in the Obsidian community, there actually wasn't a lot of vaults that were like big enough to like show off. Like there's a lot of test vaults where it was like, here's the same markdown file in a code block. And you're like, yeah, but like most vaults are like kind of messy and they have like a lot of different opinionated things to them, right? So being able to have like a super opinionated vault, I thought was actually very important. And I wanted to kind of like get that across to show people that this isn't something that is like a clean process. And like a lot of the stuff that happens in your vault is going to be very specific to you. So being able to see like a full vault that's just like a complete nightmare, but also has made a lot of really cool stuff, I think is important. So yeah, Katuno, you will be able to get it on GitHub soon. So I do want to do a little bit of coding before I go offline. So I think I'm going to do this front end stuff. I'm going to kind of like get us caught up on where I am with that. So let's switch to VSC real quick. And let's do this. Wait, hold. Okay. So yeah, this is a whole other thing. So now we're switching trends here. So I'm going to do this npm run dev thing real quick, and I'm going to show you what I have so far. So as I just showed you a second ago, I have this API here that is allowing me to hit my whole file directory with embedded searches. So I can search for like, you know, I don't know, Excalidraw. Well, no, that's going to turn a lot of Excalidraws. Maybe like camera. I hit execute. You know, using a proper camera as a webcam, birdhouse camera as an atomic birdhouse. Like I have a lot of notes in here that are really interesting from articles and stuff that I've read across the internet, but I don't always remember how to search them. Or like, let's say that I misspell camera. So like, let's say that I do CMRA camera. That would still to us register as camera as a human, but to computers would break down. But you can use this to, no, I guess it didn't. It just registered it as FMX and Bloom and cringe.md. That is pretty cringe. But the idea is that you can also just like have these really long form things. So you can say like a device that takes photographs, which is again a camera. And then it's like, here's something about photographs, here's something about digital cameras and Tokyo photography. Thanks. Now I'm interested in GitHub and Obsidian. I'm super glad to hear that. Thank you for saying that, Katuno. I think that that's a big part of this whole stream is to get more people interested in kind of like what the growth potential is with these technologies and really help people just finish more projects and stuff like that. I'm a huge creative coder type person. Early on in the stream, a few people came in and were like, oh my God, I've seen your stuff on Hacker News and things. And I do publish a lot of my stuff there. I have been posting there recently because Hacker News really, I actually want to talk about this for a second. Hacker News is like interesting because Hacker News hates videos. Like video format on Hacker News just doesn't do well. So like I had to like decide between like with the like kind of growth process of like what I want to take this stream down and stuff like that. I had to be like, okay, well, obviously streaming is video. Like what you're seeing right now is me literally talking in my bedroom. But being able to convert that down into writing takes work and effort to turn it like into blog posts and stuff like that. So I kind of needed to make a decision where I was like, oh, am I going to stick more with like video or writing? Hey, Radicide, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. We are talking about, we just finished talking about project management, and now I'm going to do some code on a Next.js front end app for vector embeddings. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time. But I was also complaining about Hacker News just now. So I was saying that like Hacker News is great. Don't get me wrong. I think Hacker News is like if we look at the stuff that's on the top of Hacker News right now, I promise you that there's going to be there's going to be a lot of articles that I'm just going to want to click. Like Hacker News just absolutely crushes it with like cool stuff. Like, you know, Forge going public, YubiKey, just like this is where all programmers go to hang out. When people wonder where programmers are hanging out, it's always here. Yeah, there's always something cool on Hacker News. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Hacker News. I've been fortunate to be on the top of Hacker News a few times with some work that I've published in the past. My complaint with Hacker News is that there is a culture on Hacker News where if you don't know how to play the game implicitly on Hacker News, you can't really play the game, if that makes sense. Like people have a very specific way of doing things on Hacker News where they expect you to post at a certain frequency. They expect you to post certain types of blogs and things like that too, which isn't a problem. It's kind of like a subreddit in that case, of course. But like, I find that like there are a lot of really cool videos on the internet that just don't land on Hacker News because Hacker News just hates videos. Like there is never a video that I've seen on Hacker News. It's always written content. And that's nice because, you can always save it to Obsidian and Readwise and stuff like that, which we were talking about a little bit earlier. But it's also a little bit like, damn, I would really love to be able to to like watch a video from Hacker News, but you will never see a YouTube link on Hacker News, which is crazy. Like you might see videos within blogs, but you will never like see just a video, which I find to be pretty interesting. So VSC, all right. Or wait, actually no, Chrome. Fast API. Chrome. So I now have this app that has different endpoints. So I have my main endpoint, which is like my hello world, basically, where you can hit it the homepage and you can get the hello world. It's whatever. That's scary for normal people like me on Hacker News or for the API. Hacker News is pretty scary. Yeah, yeah, Hacker News. Yeah, Hacker News is like it's very dense. I think the stuff that you see on Hacker News, it's very, you kind of have to like go all or nothing on Hacker News for a while, and I think that Hacker News is like, Hacker News has really nailed the staying niche market while also being very on top of the tech game, which is pretty interesting, right? Because like tech moves very quickly in the real world and there's a lot of different stakeholders. So for Hacker News to maintain an ethos of culture around new technology, but without becoming super cringe, basically, where a lot of stuff that you might see on Hacker News wouldn't just like immediately just fall into drivel. I think it's drivel. Yeah, drivel. Yeah. So it doesn't. Hacker News does a really good job of avoiding the fall into just kind of like techno babble. It does all the posts that generally make it to the best of on Hacker News, whatever their algorithm that is that they're using, are very insightful and generally very information dense. And for example, actually, I will show this on stream because I think it's kind of funny. So like when I've gone live, when I've done well on Hacker News before, I've like posted stuff where it's like so like this investing in lighting things did great for my mental and physical health. You got like, like a bunch of like of they got to the front page, but then I got completely eviscerated in the comments. You know what I mean? But like it's like I was like, I had written this not as like necessarily a huge blog post. I wrote it because I just thought like lighting was just a really interesting topic and I wanted to just like collect some like light thoughts on it. Like I didn't really like like think I was gonna write like a whole think piece about it. And then I just like, again, I just got torn apart in the comments. Like people in the comments are just absolutely brutal on Hacker News. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens in the comments on Hacker News too. Like it's pretty interesting to see how people kind of like, like even like just writing about like King George and Nicholas and stuff like that. Like it's really interesting to see what goes on Hacker News and what works and what doesn't work. Um but anyway, that's besides the point yet again, because we are talking about APIs. So yeah, so I have my login here, which basically I set up using Fast API has, let me introduce Fast API real quick. Nope. Fast API. So Fast API is a Python library that does high performance, easy to learn, fast to code, ready for production servers. So I basically used it to replace Express for this project because I'm using this software called Qdrant, which has a Python API client. And I wanted to just connect the two really quickly, and I didn't want to mess with it in JavaScript anymore. And tomorrow might have seen it actually when it was in JavaScript, but is now pretty much fully in Python, except the Next.js app, which we're going to be doing a little bit of work on stream here. But you can see the it comes up with like a Swagger docs URL, which is super helpful because then you get to see it running live, which is great for debugging, because like that is one of the main problems with debugging is that you'll run into a situation where you're just like looking to test an endpoint that you wrote the code for and you spend 15 minutes just trying to figure out how to run it on like a server or something like that. So Fast API has stayed true to its name and actually been pretty fast, and they have things for security. So one thing that I added was this OAuth, simple OAuth with password and bearer last time. And now I need a front end for it. So if we go to localhost 3000 slash login, I have no login page. Let's see. Let's go back to, oh, it's at 3001. Okay. So this repo that you're seeing in front of you here is made from this simple login carb Chakra templates. I'm using Chakra UI, which is a, I know I'm dropping a lot of topics on everybody's plate right now, but basically Chakra is a UI library for React, which is in and of itself a front end framework that is being used under Next.js. So I'm using a Next.js boilerplate here called Next Starter Chakra. And basically I'm using it because it already has all the stuff that I would need for this and it's PWA ready. So this is actually the most important part, is that I was making this initially in shortcuts because I was like, oh, I can just call my API from Docker. I'm hosting this on DigitalOcean. And I was like, I can just call it from my freaking iOS shortcuts. But then I entered what I just like to describe as the seventh layer of hell, which is making shortcuts. Making shortcuts is just a miserable experience. You can see here on the screen where it says repeat with each item and repeat result if IDX does not have any value. If repeat item is chosen, the set variable. The worst part about this isn't even that I was like, I don't mind doing all the variable stuff. The worst part about it is that you actually have to like finger drag all of this stuff. So you're like literally just like on your phone, just like math, like scrolling, and then like sometimes it'll get too big for your phone, so you have to move over to your MacBook and like actually like click and drag it, but then you lose variables because variables don't really sync on iCloud that quickly. So you have to just wait until the variables show up. So I was like lying in bed on my phone, like with my phone like this and my MacBook like this, and I was just kind of just like moving my shortcuts and like moving my phone, and I was just kind of like going back and forth for a long time. So this is considered the eighth layer of hell. Shortcuts are useful, they're like super useful, but it's like really hard to do. And you can see here that I had to like get the contents of the JSON call and use ngrok to get the URL encoded text, and then use that to repeat the items. And it was a mess. It was awful. So I don't want to go down that path again. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna write myself a front end, so I don't have to deal with this again, because like that was a miserable experience that I don't want to deal with again. Wait, how do I stop it? How do I get rid of this? Okay, cool. Where's this at? I feel like I have like a lot of just random things just floating around in this vault sometimes. So yeah, so I needed to change the whole front end strategy. The front end strategy is now using Next.js because Next.js is extremely reliable. And as we just showed with this template that I'm using, it's PWA ready. And what a PWA is, for anybody who's unfamiliar with progressive web apps, is that you can use an app on your phone similar to just like a regular app, and it will just automatically load the website and load it super fast and load it in a way that feels native to a device. So the idea is that I want, let's say, I don't know if they have it in the Chakra templates, but maybe we can find something. A good example of search, like Chakra UI search. So basically, I'm just gonna want like a input field like this. I really tried, but I understood nothing. Don't worry about it. I like code as I go over it. I think that some of it will become more clear, some of it will become more difficult, but this is all stuff that I think that you pick up over a long period of time. This isn't something that you just kind of like wake up and you're like, oh, cool, I understand everything, you know. So don't feel bad at all. But basically, I want to recreate the functionality of what you're seeing here. I want to take these file names and show them to the end user. And then I want to have it on click, open the Obsidian URI, and I want to be able to run that from my phone. So before I did that, though, I realized that I needed authorization because if this is just going to be hosted somewhere on the internet, you know, anyone would be able to search my Obsidian. So I created a login page, which this sign into your account to enjoy RQ features is just copy boilerplate. So let's see how that works. So if I go, that didn't work. Let's just do it this way. So if I'm in my console here on the right and I am definitely in the way, maybe I can move over here to the left. So this is kind of small. Maybe let me can increase the font size. How do I increase the zoom on Chrome? Window, zoom. Wait, no. That didn't work. Window. Zoom in. Oh, okay. No, that didn't work. I wanted to zoom in on the console. Zoom in. Oh, there we go. There we go. Nice. So let's say, for example, that, I came up with a really simple password, which is just Bram, and my password for it now is just like Bram PW or whatever. So like, let's say that I log in with the wrong password. So let's say that we do Bram, and then the password is like stream. This will call the server and say incorrect username or password, which is exactly what we want. But now if I type in the right one, which is Bram PW, it passes back the access token. So now we need to clean this up. We need to have the login automatically reroute us to our home page. It has dark mode for some reason, so that's nice. And then we can run our search and we can build that out, which is going to be really cool. So let's switch back over to VSC and run that. So let's say that I need it to say VSC reroute. Well, not VSC. Next API reroute, or maybe I don't know how it saves the token is actually a question. So let's say that like fast API token. Okay, so I think that what we're going to want to do is make the home page and just see if that doesn't work without the login and see where we end up with that. So let's say that we have our search page. I usually like to do my search pages like, or my TypeScript and JavaScript in like files that I can like have them be separate and then merge them into the main one. That's kind of like how I've been handling live, not even just like coding, but like how I handle project manipulation in kind of like Next.js type apps. So let's say that we have a function here. And then we can have it just search like that. And it's going to throw a lot of complaints, a lot, but we're just gonna have to deal with that for a second. And then I'm gonna go back into Chrome and grab the input from Chaka UI React here. And also gonna get the placeholder. I put that up there because I'm totally mongling it right now. And then quick fix auto fixable problems. I think you could do that on save, like on a format save, but I haven't installed a like prettier or ESLint. Well, there's prettier here, but don't listen to it. If this repo for some reason has its own like thing that I got set up with, and I can't find where it is, and I'm just too lazy to do it. So I've just been hitting that button over and over, and it's like it's a whole mess. But now what we should be able to do is we should be able to go back into Chrome. we should be able to go to localhost 3001 search, and we can see our search thing here, which is great. So it already is working, but now we need it to call this endpoint, this API search endpoint, which we can see is localhost API search with the queue and the query is the things that we URL encode our query. Our header is application JSON, and then our authorization header with our token, which we're going to have to do like a time-based token or something like that that expires after 15 minutes or whatever, but that's a problem for another day. And it wouldn't even necessarily need to be like that. I think that especially for these apps of one where you need to host them on the web, you can actually just use API secrets. This is something that I learned a while ago, because API secrets are already as vulnerable as it gets in like environment variables and stuff like that. So you can just put your password in an environment variable and then just use that as your password and then have it randomly generate a hash token that other people wouldn't know. But let's like make this curl real quick. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code, and then I'm going to go into the API and let's say search.ts. And then let's make a little thing here and then import that. Don't think I need get session, but that's interesting. I use Copilot. I'm gonna try to apply it for now. I have to go. Oh, Katuno, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you for chatting. I had a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what you do with Obsidian, and come hang out again in the future. We'll be doing a lot of stuff with Obsidian and coding and stuff like that too. So thank you for swinging by. I really appreciate it. So this is kind of interesting. It already just kind of like Copilot, you could see, is just like already writing our code for us. It's even doing this yup thing that I did in my other file because I was just like lazy and I couldn't think of a name, which is so funny. So this is going to be 0.0. So if I go to like login, it's going to be this, but instead of that, it's going to be, see you, Katuno. Thank you for coming again. Appreciate it. Instead of token, it's going to be search, and then queue, and then vault, and then method get, and then we're getting the session.access token. So it's already kind of writing itself, which is awesome. You know, AI, baby. It's crazy. I don't think that this is what we need. So I'm just going to get rid of this from now. And then this should also, I think that this should pass the token too, maybe. Yeah, headers.authorization.split. Oh my god, it's too smart. It's too smart. The AI is too smart. And let's say if not token, then let's say that this returns a 401 for unauthorized, and this is saying that the object is possibly undefined. So let's do the optional. So let's say that, okay, if, so yeah, we do want those two. If rec.headers. Okay, so this is basically saying that if the rec.headers.authorization object doesn't exist, then returning an unauthorized. So actually, we probably don't need this part anymore. And now we can just pass in this token, and then we can save that. And then we can say that we're searching on this query, but we have to URL encode the query, and we should probably do that at the server level. Yeah. So URL encode the query. So const URL encoded query is going to encode this URI component as string. And then we're going to pass in the URL encoded query and then our vault name. And then we are going to fix whatever this error is, which I don't know what's going on here. This maybe? Oh, what's that? Yep, 500. Yep, pretty good. And then let's get the data from that. And then we're going to return that data. And then we're going to just see what that logs. So now if we go to login.tsx, I have this function here, which I'm going to just copy. And I'm going to go to, as you can see, this is actually going pretty quickly, right? Because of all these tools that I'm leveraging, specifically Copilot, to help me do these things. So let's say that this is search. And then we're going to call API/search. And then the headers. And then we're going to pass in our authorization token, which was this bear Bram thing. Which it won't be like that in the live version, of course, but this is just to kind of like get it to search. Replace, okay. You do that. And then we are going to pass in, oh, wait, actually, because it's a get, no, wait, what does this work? Rec.query. I guess we would be posting to this search. We're not getting this search, right? So I think that we want to actually get this from the body object. And then we want to export it as a default function and add a new line so it stops screaming. And then we are going to pass in our query. So let's say that we have a query object. So we have to import use state, import use state from React. And then we're going to say, yeah, but this is going to be query instead. So this is going to be our query, and then we're going to say that our query is going to be equal to whatever our query is equal to, and then we're going to have, what else do we need? Our vault. So I'm just going to pass in the vault right now as a vault object, which in my case is what I call my to-go brain. So let's just make this a constant and call it to-go brain. All right, whatever. We can just do example vault, because we're not actually going to be opening it. And we're going to do that. And then, yeah, it doesn't like console log statements, but I think we can ignore that. So then we can have a button here that calls search. And then we're going to fix whatever it's saying the spacing is. Missing explicit type attribute for button. Button has type. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. So let's say that we're going to on change this. This is going to take the event, and then we're going to pipe the event dot target dot value into set query. And we're going to do a quick fix again. And then I think that should work. I mean, obviously it's probably going to break. Like, I don't know what's going to go down, but it's obviously not just going to work. But it looks like everything is here. We have our search endpoint. We have our queue and vault from here, which is going to send that in the URL. So let's just see what goes down. Let's just try it. So we're going to go back into Chrome, And then I'm going to go to next starter and I'm going to refresh this page. And then we're going to be like, we're going to open our console and then type in, oh my gosh. Oh no, it's miserable. Hold on. Okay. We're going to type in library card. And we're going to hit the search button. And we got a 400. Bad request. So we got a bad request from our API, which means that I have to check the API layer and see why that's the case. So if I go back to service.py, I see okay, that it's doing the token call. And it's saying that the token, wait, was it 400? No, that's not right, right? As I hit the search endpoint, I thought. Um, this is a get. I'm fetching that. And then I got a 400, which I'm returning a 400 in search.ts. Oh. So I got a bad request from here because I'm using queue instead of query. Okay, let's try that. All right, search. Ooh, okay, here we go. Internal server error. Unexpected token doc type is not invalid in JSON. Okay. Let's see VSC here. Oh, query string. Search. Not found. F not found. That worked there. Okay. Let me see. Maybe my other. Okay. So in my other repo, my backend, it says that the library card vault isn't found in the get. So maybe if I look at my get here, okay, this is equal to vaults up here. Wait, I'm in the way again. So this is like vault up here, which is that. And then the query is this slash API. Oh, I didn't do slash API slash search, I don't think. No, I did. No, I didn't. Yeah. Slash API slash search. Okay. Now if I go back into Chrome again and hit search, what do we get? Oh, we got our results. Oh, let's go. Reading like a Roman, the compound interest of your life, the read later database. Yeah, they're in here. That's awesome. It works. And we have the Obsidian URI. So now all we need to do, and I'm going to clean this up maybe later. It's already been 2 hours and I probably got to go eat dinner soon. But I have to go back into VSC. All we have to do now is make a const results and set results thing. And then we're going to set the results to the data that we get back from here. And then we're going to have a a list of results. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh, Jesus. So we want to map the result and we want to get the, this is a li, this is going to be a link actually. So let's say that it's a link to, or was it ref, is equal to result dot obsidian URI. And then this is going to be result dot file name. And that's going to throw an error, but I know that those exist, so it's fine. Result.file name. Oh, okay, well, we do have a little bit of a problem, is that we actually have two arrays in here. We have obsidian URIs, and we have, so we have to zip them. So let's say that we have a zipped array of results. Okay, no, actually we could just do obsidian URIs too as a separate one. And this set results will be set to data.results, and this will be set to data.obsidian URIs. And then this is going to be, we get the index object from this results map. And we're going to say that this is the obsidian URIs of IDX. And then this is the result.file name. And then save that. Go back here to Chrome. Let's see how it does. Let's hit library card again. Move over here. Library card. And then hit search. And we got it. No. Okay. So we see that results, is it dot result? Oh, instead of results. Okay, let's try again. Library card. Search. Obsidian URIs. Okay. Data.obsidian URI S is with a capital S. I'm getting destroyed by my own font choices or capitalization choices. Library card. Search. Boom. Look at that. And now, actually, I do need to type it in my original vault in here so I can see. To go brain. Okay, if this works, then I think I'm just gonna freaking send it, dude, into the moon. Library card. Search. Oh, it works. It works. It opened the file. It's ugly. It's not clean, but it worked. It worked fully end to end. That's super exciting. Damn, it's coming along nice. Had to step away to cook. Need an Obsidian plugin, and then my life like that will be complete. Yeah, it's come a long way. It even has dark mode. Look at this. I'm gonna add these to like look like cards and stuff like that. But it has now, I think in Visual Studio Code, for example, I was just showing that I have like the API being called through this Next.js app, and then it reaches through the back end to call this API search thing, opens it up in the vault, and then gets it out into the actual thing, which is great. So now let's have a bit of fun, a little bit of fun. Totally dox myself with all my things that I've written down, but like maybe I can do something like food, cooking, and then hit search. Cooking, healthier diet. Oh man, this is awesome. And I could like even there's so much I can do here. Like I could increase the number that are returned. Like there's just a whole bunch of stuff that can be done. Uh let's do this real quick. I think is there not a card? Okay, maybe chakra UI card template. Let's do product simple maybe. What does this look like? I want something like a little bit more text based. What's this one? Yeah, this one's like not bad. I don't really want like the image or the buttons or anything like that. Actually, I might want the button. I don't know. So let's just try this one. So let's go here and copy paste. So copy. Yeah. And then we're going to go into here. We're going to go into Visual Studio Code, and I'm totally going to switch correctly to components. And then, whoa, there's already a lot of stuff in here. Whoa. This template don't play around. I'll just add this one anyway, card.tsx. And then I'll just paste that in here. And I will fix auto fixable problems. Use color mode value. Why is that an error? React hook is called in function is not a React function. React components must start with an uppercase letter hook names. It does start with use. Whatever. So if I go into card here, so let's like import card from lib components card. And then let's say that for each of these results, I want to like use a card. And let's do the result.file name. URI is that. Yep, that makes sense. And then actually we just need the title and the URI. And then let's comment this out. And let's do this. Fix all the auto fixable problems. Do not use array index in keys. I feel like this prettier thing is getting in my way sometimes. I'm just trying to vibe. But what we can do is that we can do URI and file name. And then let's set these both equal to this. And then we can import link from next link. Link from next link. And now let's get rid of most of this stuff. So let's just replace the title real quick with what we have. And let's replace the button with the URI. Wait, URI. Previous definition of link in multiple times. Oh, okay. I guess Chakra UI has its own link too. And then, yeah, let's see. This is going to look ugly, but let's see what we have. So if I go to Chrome, go here, refresh, and then type in library card search, and it's invalid. um, export for error. So I think what's going on is, well, no, I'm exporting default function, but I might have to just call it card. And then I'm returning all this stuff, which is fine. I have this card. Oh, you know, it's a default function, not a not default function. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to refresh this again, switch to Chrome, and then type in library card, hit search, and it breaks. Objects are not valid as a React child for the button content component. So if I go back to VSC, I might just make this thing so I don't have to like worry about this, because I get a lot. Probably gonna get a lot of errors because I don't know what any of this code does. What was the error? It said that it was objects are not valid. Found object with keys. If you meant to render a collection of children, use an array instead. In where? Okay. I think what I need to do is just not use this. I think this was a bad choice, because it's just going to take me too long when all I need to do is just like actually just write my own card and not be lazy. So let's go back here and just get rid of all this stuff. And then let's say, let's just have Copilot do it so I can still be lazy. Write a simple card in Chakra UI, write a simple card component that that has a file name and a clickable link. Okay. Export. The power of AI, baby. we keep using it. What is this now? Missing in props validation. Well, just validate for me. How do I do that? I guess I haven't really done any validation, have I? I don't know how. I feel like React changes their rules all the time, so I don't know. I might just do any just to get it over with, or just whatever, ignore it for now. Like I said, if this might be changed in a few days anyway, as I kind of like play around with it on and off stream, but I've already been live now for 2.5 hours, which is a long time for me. I usually go live for like an hour. So I'm doing pretty good. Okay, and enter after this. And then this is still, let's bring the card back here. And let's say that this is file name, result.file name. Okay, and then let's go to Chrome. That's not Chrome. Let's go to Chrome and refresh. And then we're going to search a library card. Search. Okay, well, it does have the link button. And I can't click on it anymore, but it's coming along. I might just do some of this offline. I feel like I need to probably go eat some food and do other stuff. But that's where we're gonna get today. Actually, hold on, let me mark it off in Obsidian too, because it does work. I just made it worse. That the all of the errors that have been shown are of my own volition, and they are my fault. um, but I think we got pretty far today. I think we talked a lot about project stack overflowing. We talked about front end. We learned a lot about the setup and kind of like what it means to kind of like add stuff to Obsidian and take things away and stuff like that too. I think it was a really helpful day, and there was a lot that was like learned along the path here. So I'll be committing all this stuff to GitHub and stuff like that, and it'll all be live on like GitHub repo. I'll probably be live Monday is the plan. I am going to try and do some video editing tomorrow and take care of some weekend stuff. But thank you everybody for watching. Today was like a really fun day. I had a lot more fun chatting today than I've had in a long time. And I'm very, very happy about that. I'm gonna, like I said, do a little bit of offline work probably with this project, so I can just kind of like wrap it in a bow and like move on to the next thing. Because like I am kind of getting bored of working on this embeddings app, and I have other things that I want to do. So Monday, it'll probably be, I'll do just like work offline and then like kind of like have it be ready, and then I'll just push whatever I have on GitHub and then talk over my decisions as opposed to just coding them in real time, so I can like listen to music and vibe. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And like I said, I will be live again on Monday. If people want to come through, peace. Thank you. Thank you tomorrow. Thank you for coming through. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.